What are NASCAR's current crown jewel events? And is Formula One really trying to steal NASCAR's Chicago Thunder? How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Happy Friday. Stay tuned because in just a few minutes, Mike Boylan from Mike's Weather Page will be joining the show. We'll talk a little Daytona weather and discuss a great initiative he's working on with Furman Power Equipment to get portable generators in the hands of folks who desperately need them. So stay tuned for that. You know, with the Daytona 500 right around the corner, some call it the Super Bowl of stock car racing. The actual Super Bowl is this weekend. Lots of big events coming up. It had me thinking about big NASCAR events, the crown jewels, if you will. My friends at the Daily Downforce yesterday ranked their 4 NASCAR crown jewels. It's the usual suspects: Daytona, Coke 600, Southern 500, the Brickyard 400, with a little honorable mention there to the Bristol night race. Got me thinking. Got Brad Keselowski thinking. BK weighed in. His list looks a little different. He's got Daytona, then the 600, then the Southern 500, then Bristol, the night race, ahead of the Brickyard 400. That's especially interesting considering Brad has both a Brickyard 400 and Bristol night race trophy. So he truly knows what he's talking about. His opinion matters a ton. Matters a lot more than mine, but I figured I'd still weigh in real quick. My 4 NASCAR crown jewels, because we typically limit them to 4. You know, Mount Rushmore has 4 faces on it. Daytona 500, easily number 1. It's the most prestigious race, biggest crowd, biggest payout, biggest TV viewership, a ton of history at Daytona. That's the easy number 1. At number 2, I go Coca-Cola 600. Takes place in NASCAR's backyard these days, Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's unique in that it is 600 miles, longer than any other race on the schedule. It's not quite the physical test it used to be, but it still takes place on Memorial Day weekend. It usually bats cleanup on the biggest day in racing. Coke 600 has to be number 2 on my list. Then I put the Southern 500. I saw my first Southern 500 in person 2 or 3 years ago, and I didn't leave my seat once. Incredible racetrack, a ton of history, a ton of charm. It's a driver's track, and sitting in the grandstands, you can really see the racers wheeling those cars, sliding up close to the outside wall. Beautiful racetrack, number 3 easily. I'd argue that nowadays, especially, the Southern 500 is a greater physical test than the Coke 600 is. They both deserve to be considered NASCAR crown jewels. In fourth place, I agree with Brad Keselowski. I've always said the Bristol night race deserves every bit of the hype it gets. A dizzying 500 laps around that place, surrounded by thousands of fans. An incredible, unbelievable atmosphere. Bristol's often rewarded the best drivers in the business: Waltrip, Earnhardt, Busch. I know the average person still considers the Brickyard 400 a crown jewel, and I guess technically it is, but I'd put the Brickyard 400 5th. Look, the facility is obviously beautiful, historic. There was a time there where the Brickyard 400 is arguably the biggest race on the NASCAR schedule. It was going toe-to-toe with Daytona, but those days are long, long gone. It's hard to consider the Brickyard 400 a true crown jewel when we took it off the schedule for 3 years. So, Indianapolis obviously deserves that respect, but I kind of agree with Keselowski. My top 4, Daytona, Charlotte, Darlington, Bristol night race. I love that thing. This may be controversial, but I'd throw in some of these newer races as my honorable mention. Like the Chicago street race isn't a crown jewel yet. It's brand new, but it's so unique. It's a marquee event, a pivotal moment perhaps in this sport's history. We'll remember for decades to come that it was Shane Van Gisbergen who won the inaugural Chicago street race. Shoot, I would kill to win the first Clash at the Coliseum like Logano did a couple years back. I would have been ecstatic to win the inaugural Chicago street race. There's only one first, one inaugural event. And these are some very unique, important races in the sport's history. But yeah, there's my list. Let me know. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with Keselowski? Agree with my friends at the Daily Downforce? What's your take? What are your 4 NASCAR crown jewel events, and in what order? Speaking of Chicago, yesterday the street race announced this year's concert lineup. The Chainsmokers are running it back for a second year. Hopefully the weather helps them out this time. Good lineup though, in my opinion. Keith Urban, the Black Keys, Lauren Elena. Good mix of relevant artists there. Hopefully will help sell some more tickets. Now, can the weather please please cooperate this time around. Just don't give us historic flooding like you did last summer. That's all I ask. NASCAR may be facing some tough competition in Chicago before long. Yesterday, Fastest Pit Stop on X reported that sources reveal there are extensive plans to hold an F1 race in Chicago. Race looks to be targeted for a late April, mid-June slot to coincide with the ideal weather and be the right fit in the calendar, preferably before or after Canada. Dang. Well, I guess this means NASCAR did something right last summer if it caught Formula One's attention. They want a slice of that pie. I don't know how to feel about this. That report yesterday is interesting because it contradicts reports from NBC a week earlier. Last week, NBC Chicago reported that an F1 race in the city streets was, quote, unlikely. Alderman Brian Hopkins, a Chicago city official, said, quote, I'm told that F1 typically requires a 10-year minimum deal, and that appears to be non-negotiable. The conversation did not get much past that. And then he added, what we did with NASCAR, welding manhole covers and smoothing over potholes and calling it a track, that doesn't work with F1. It's more complicated, thus higher price tag. So there you have a city official saying, yeah, the talks with F1 have not gone very far. I doubt they'll be able to meet our demands. But then you have this report yesterday saying, no, F1 is serious about this. They want to race in the Windy City. Too early to say what happens, but for sure, an F1 race in the streets of Chicago will have some sort of impact on NASCAR's presence in the city and future in the city. No doubt an F1 race would be far more intrusive, which is probably why the city is hesitant to sign up, but it would also likely bring a much larger crowd, probably a wealthier crowd to Chicago than your typical NASCAR race would. So, it's politics. Money talks, money moves around. We'll see what happens. It's too early to say for sure, but something worth keeping an eye on. One more topic real quick before Mike from Mike's Weather Page joins us. It actually is weather related. NASCAR yesterday tested wet weather or damp tires, I suppose, at Bristol Motor Speedway. Brad Keselowski, Eric Jones, and Zane Smith were in attendance. NASCAR would wet the track a bit between runs. Not sure exactly how the test went. We know NASCAR has these wet weather tires for road courses and for many of the flat short tracks. I did not know they'd be testing at Bristol so soon, but now with 2 concrete Bristol dates back on the calendar, it likely is in NASCAR's best interest to see what kind of contingency plan they can come up with, especially considering the spring Bristol race for many years now has often been impacted by light rain and bad weather. Anything that helps NASCAR fight back against Mother Nature, I'm in favor of. I doubt we'll see these wet weather tires used this year, but it's nice to see NASCAR and Goodyear trying something out. Bristol also announced yesterday that they're bringing back the old school red and white painted walls. That's exciting. Haven't the walls been... Have they been black in recent years or have they been white? I forget. They were white for the longest time. Then at some point recently, they changed them to black. I don't remember what they were last year. But yeah, the classic red and white, real old school. I like that feel. I can't wait to see how it looks in just a couple months. But anyway, now it's time to bring on a couple special guests. Mike's Weather Page and Furman Power Equipment will be sponsoring my friends at JD Motorsports at Daytona this next weekend in the Xfinity Series race. Mike is also an online content creator, so I'm happy to have him on the show to talk a little more about what he does. I'll also mention that you can meet Mike Boylan and driver Dawson Cram at the Lowe's in Port Orange, Florida this coming Friday, February 16th between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. So great opportunity if you're heading to the races this weekend to meet a NASCAR driver, talk to Mike, maybe get the inside scoop on the latest weather patterns, what we can expect for Daytona, and I think they'll also have some other cool goodies to give away. So without further ado, let's bring our special guests onto the show. I'm now joined by Mike Boylan of Mike's Weather Page and Jason Sutton from Furman Power Equipment. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show ahead of an exciting weekend of racing at Daytona International Speedway. We've had you both on the show before, but it's been about a year. Mike, we talked last year a bit about what got you interested in the weather and how your page, Mike's Weather Page, began. But can you go into even more detail for maybe newer fans of the show or folks who didn't hear us last year? Like, where did that infatuation with weather patterns, data, where did that start for you and how did it turn into what you do today?
Yeah, I think living in Florida, we're all weather junkies and, hurricane season's a part of life. We have hurricane parties and I don't know, there's just this weird addiction to tracking storms when I was young. And 2004, we had four hurricanes heading towards Florida, and there really wasn't any place on the net to get good, models and images. So I was learning HTML at USF at the time. Went to school for marketing and put together a page. I called it Mike's Weather Page, and I shared it with friends and family. And it was never meant to be anything more than a place for me to go to see images, and that's kind of what it is today. It's just kind of got a little bigger. Half of what I do is, I would hope is good information modeling, forecast, and the other half is kind of turned into my life and our lifestyle and my family's lifestyle and friends' lifestyles. And my love of NASCAR has been a part of my life since I was little. My mom and dad taking me to races to Charlotte back in the early 80s, and growing up at Daytona. And so it's my people are race fans and football and baseball, and kids play softball, and I just enjoy it. I'm sponsored by ABC Fine Wine here in Florida, and all my like to drink, and so it's just I'm kind of your average weather dude that kind of has a drink with you and talks about life.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, well, you're in the right spot this weekend. Daytona, you're bringing another race car. You guys are sponsoring a car in this weekend's Xfinity Series race. The paint scheme looks very similar to last year, but I know last year you guys got a ton of very positive comments, great reception. It was well received. Can you tell us a little bit more into what thought went into designing this paint scheme in particular?
Well, yes, Furman's one of our biggest supporters, and they're really good friends of mine, and they do a lot for the storm community, and we've done stuff together after storms. And so it was real important last year to put together a hurricane awareness machine, is what we called it. In Florida has been impacted by hurricanes now 2 years in a row, and as pretty much the South in general. But Furman's a great partner, and we love the idea of hurricane season's 100 days away. Just basically showing everybody we got your back. We're there every day of the hurricane season, doing shows, and just kind of connecting with our consumer, their consumers and my fans. And now we have the state of Florida on board again. Florida Division of Emergency Management is huge. It builds credibility for what we're trying to do. And Kevin Guthrie comes. He's the executive director here in the state. We have a lot of local EOCs come. Volusia County, which is home to Daytona, they're going to be there supporting and giving away weather radio. So it's kind of a really weird niche that weather and racing here in Florida just makes sense, and we're excited that the press has embraced it for us.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I want to bring Jason in here now. Jason from Furman Power Equipment. I know Furman is all about getting portable generators to folks who need them. Jason, can you tell us a little more about Furman Power Equipment's FAST team and initiative?
Yeah, absolutely. So Furman's a manufacturer of portable generators. We have some pretty big retail partners. We're in every Costco in the U.S. and Canada. We're in every, Lowe's across the United States. And Lowe's, as a retail partner, has really opened their doors to us and allowed us to kind of send teams and be in their parking lots in stores that are in affected areas. So after Ian, we were down in Fort Myers last year. After Idalia, we were up in northern Florida at a bunch of different Lowe's stores. And the whole idea behind the FAST team, which again is that Furman Active Support Team, is that we send our technicians, we send assets with trailers and vans, and we advertise in that local community on social media to let people know that if you just brought your generator out of the garage and you want to fire it up for after the storm, and maybe you can't get it started, you can bring it to us, bring it to our technicians at the Lowe's store, and we'll fix it no matter what the brand. Doesn't have to be a Furman generator, any brand at all. But beyond that, we really wanted to have an impact where we could actually save some lives. And we've been able to do that through the FAST team, where we send guys out into the neighborhoods in one of our Furman vans, and they're basically looking for people that are running their generator in an unsafe way. What I mean by that is looking for people that might be impacted by carbon monoxide poisoning. So all of our newest Furman generators have CO alert, which actually turns off the generator. It's sniffing the air, if you will, looking for a concentration of carbon monoxide that would be dangerous, and it'll actually turn off the generator. But of course, there's millions of generators out there in the market that people have had for years that don't have that technology. So we try and let people know that how important it is to run your generator at least 20 feet from your home. But still, we'll see people running the generator in their garage, even with the garage open, by the way. That's not good enough, or on a porch or in a carport. in a way where that carbon monoxide is going to get into the house and be very detrimental to the family. So our team, they drive around neighborhoods looking for that. They'll go knock on the door and say, hey, we see you running your generator in an unsafe way. Please let us move it for you. If we need to, we'll give you an extension cord for free to make that happen. And they've actually been able to save some lives, which is just so rewarding. So yeah, we really try and have an impact. We do that mainly in Florida. We were up in southern Georgia last year as well, but really the concentration is in Florida. For obvious reasons, there's so many storms every year in Florida. But Furman, like I said, we've been a manufacturer. We've been in the States for 8 years, and now we're the largest seller of portable generators in the United States and Canada. So nearly 40% market share in the United States and over 65% in Canada. So a huge portion of the generators being sold in the U.S. are coming from Furman, and we're super proud of that fact. We're super proud to partner with Mike and with the Florida Division of Emergency Management and some other partners to sponsor the JD Motorsports number 4 car again this year. Daytona should be a great race, and we're looking forward to making it more than 4 or 5 laps this year. So it should be good.
It's awesome to have both of you on the show because I can tell you're both big NASCAR fans. I really appreciate your time, and the Furman Fast Initiative sounds like a really important initiative, of course. With the Daytona 500 right around the corner, I hate to put you on the spot, Mike, but is there any, I'm not going to ask you to make any predictions because I know Florida weather can be difficult to predict, but is there anything you're looking at that maybe if fans are heading to the races this weekend, they can kind of, maybe plan their schedule around? Is there anything they should be looking out for in the coming days?
It's going to be warm, which is great. We do have a rain shower. It looks like there's a front line coming in through Tuesday. Weather looks perfect through Saturday. I will say, I'm not going to say anything about Sunday right now. I'm just glad the kids are off school on Monday. Put it to you that way.
There you go. Absolutely.
Our car's an Xfinity car, so we're happy about the good weather on Saturday.
We're good.
That's great.
But the weather's going to be constant. Temperatures are going to be like upper 60s, lows in 50s. So the weather's going to be stagnant all week, which is awesome. And it's going to be beautiful blue sky for most of the week. We'll just see. In my world, we look at the European model and the GFS model. The Europeans saying that the rain's going to be here late on maybe Monday. So we're rooting for the European model.
Let's go. I like it.
Ford versus Chevy. We got to root for the Euro. The Euro hopefully is going to be slow.
Yeah, I like that. That's funny. Well, hopefully the only storm we see on track this weekend is that number 4 car on Saturday. Car looks great, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being on the show. Looking forward to seeing you at the track in a few days.
Yeah, and one thing, pay attention to Furman's social media because we're going to be doing a meet and greet a couple miles from the track and giving away a lot of storm stuff, storm radios, information, swag. So watch for that. You can come out and meet the driver and say hey to Jason and me here too. So
we'd love that.
A huge thank you again to Mike and Jason for being on the show. That's going to do it for this episode, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. We talk NASCAR every single day on this show. And as always, a huge thank you to my very generous Patreon supporters. I just launched a brand new Out of the Groove NASCAR Fantasy League exclusive to Patreon members, so I appreciate your support. I will catch y'all in the next episode. Have a wonderful rest of your week, folks. I'll see you again real soon.